A hit of a Trojan horse. So what does it do?
It's a virus inside or something
Virus inside something.
to camouflage it.
Camouflage, right. So it appears to be a genuine harmless program, but it will really do some harm. And it came from this history where sometime back, I don't remember who fought who, but one of them was called Trojan, a set of soldiers called group Trojan. Probably they were trying to kill their enemy group by sending a horse as a gift to them. But on the abdomen, actually it is like probably a wooden horse. I don't know if it's a real horse or not, but on the abdomen of the horse, you can see all the soldiers, the Trojans, were hiding. So once the horse was given as a gift to those people, they were not prepared for any attack because they were expecting a gift. So the other side was not really prepared for an attack, and at that time all these people came down from the abdomen of the horse and they attacked the thing. So that's why it's called a Trojan horse attack, or Trojan horse, just the name of the malware. So it appears at the outside to be kind of a harmless program, but it could really do some harm. For example, if once your computer is infected with say a Trojan, it could install a login screen that appears to be a genuine login screen. So a user may enter his username and password. It will let him to probably log in, but his password is being captured, and normally Trojans will have a remote connection. So someone from some other computer will be controlling this Trojan and getting back all the information it's collecting. So the Trojan will collect all your sensitive information and send to that user, send to the remote attacker, right? So similarly, the Trojan could keep track or could find out all your credit card information, everything from your computer, and send that to the other side. So even though if you think it could be like a normal program running, you don't know what it's doing behind the screen, right? So that's what it does. Okay, so a worm is a very dreadful malware because it's very difficult to control the propagation of a worm. As I said before, a virus restricts itself most of the time to a particular computer, but a worm tries to spread to as many machines as possible to a network. And a worm doesn't need a host to be activated. Remember I said before, a virus needs a host to be activated, whereas a worm can run by itself. Okay. So typically a worm kind of, once it infects, that's why I think we discussed last time, it normally targets network-related programs. So it goes to your mailing list and try to send some junk emails to your contact people in your mailing list. Or there are some machines that you can trust. Typically in Unix environment, you have what is called some trusted machines. Okay? So each machine will trust some other machine and vice versa. So if machine A trusts machine B, C, D, and B, C, D or likewise trust A, if once A is infected with a worm, right, it can easily infect the other machines that trust each other. Okay, so this is very common in Unix environment because it reduces the kind of login overhead and all those things. That's why in Unix systems we sometimes have this trust relationship. Once you're connected to one machine, you can actually connect to the other machine without going through the login process and all those things. So that's the kind of optimization Unix systems do. But it's from a security point of view, it could be exploited, and a worm can easily infect now the other machines. Because these machines are going to trust anything coming from this machine. So a worm could be hidden inside a message that is sent, and then it could easily infect these machines.
Dr. May, when I saw that I didn't see where I had sent emails, but they said people were telling me that I sent emails. Even I have 2 accounts. It sent one to my other email. That's how I could see what is actually sent. But I couldn't really the email that was sent to me. was a document. It was some kind of Word document. How did it spread like that? How did?
Are you saying that you didn't see it in your sent folder?
Mm-mm.
It won't show in the sent folder because it will. Why it has to show as you sent? Because actually it did send from your email account, and then the other one you're going to see called a rootkit. All these viruses, worm, and everything comes to a rootkit. The rootkit will do what's called this stealthy strategy, which means, when we talked about the boot sector virus, I said that we'll try to hide its presence. So when someone is running, say, for example, if say you know for sure somewhere in your directory somewhere, there's a virus, say in this directory. If you list the contents of this directory, it's not going to show up as a file. Because if it's going to show up as a file, you easily find out that that file is a virus, right? So it will try to hide itself from any of those file listing programs or any of those system utility programs that will try to list the contents of file or help the user to look at the contents of the system. So that is done by the rootkit. So the thing that you are telling, it might be that the rootkit accompanying the worm has removed all those entries from the sent list in your email inbox. It's a very serious infection. You will have to take care of the computer.
I just closed the account.
Well, it could be that the Yahoo server, whatever the server you are using, was infected. I don't, but sometimes it does that. Sometimes the Gmail servers, I hear people telling they were infected. I don't know how easily they can control it because they are two servers. So once it's infected, it will be that it's very difficult to control. Yes. So. And also, a worm tries to survive reboots. Remember we said some viruses are kind of memory resident viruses, so once you turn off the machine, it goes away from the main memory, it may not be again activated. Whereas a worm tries to kind of, update the registries. If you're doing it in Windows environment, it will update the registry entries so that when the machine is booting up, the machine looks at all the registry entries to load some default programs that have to be run at boot time. So a worm tries to register itself as a default program that it has to run at boot time. And when the machine is boot up, the worm will start running again. So it's very difficult to get rid of the worm once it infects the machine. Okay. So they tell, like, if you look for some solutions in the internet, they will ask you to go and change the registry entries. But you have to be very careful. When you change the registry entries, if you change the wrong ones, it may crash the system, it may not boot up again. So you have to be very careful how you really remove this worm. Yeah. So it looks also for vulnerabilities when it has to spread to another machine over the network, right? Like some people are sick here, but I'm just telling as an example. Just because they're sitting around here, everyone else is not going to be infected, right? If someone has the immunization power, they're going to withstand that infection, right? So only if they have a vulnerability to be infected, they can be easily infected, right? So likewise, if a machine in the network is infected with a worm, there are several other machines connected to it, right? So a worm will try to find, this is say the infected machine, a worm will try to find what? What are the programs running in this machine, likewise in other machines, and see what are the vulnerabilities with those programs, and see whether it can exploit those vulnerabilities and then infect that machine. So just because they're all connected together, it may not be able to infect them quite easily. Okay? So a worm will be always intelligent enough to find out what programs are running on the other machines and find out if it can make use of them and infect those machines. Right? All right. So this is what is called a worm propagation model. As you see here, the kind of infection rate, within a network, it starts very slowly like this, and after a while it kind of boots up, infects several machines, right? Like this is the rate at which it's infecting, and then after a while it gets saturated. So these are the number of machines it is infecting, and then this is the time it takes to infect. So it takes a while for it to really start infecting the other machines, and after a while, once it starts, once it enters to this phase, it infects quite a lot of machines within a short time, and then it again saturates. Right? So that is the worm propagation model. And so always it is better to remove the worm from that particular machine or from the network in the slow start phase. Right? Once it propagates to several machines, it's very difficult to remove it. Right? And there's an equation which I want you to use, remember, and I will have one or two math problems. We'll do that now. That really captures how a worm propagates. Okay, so we have some terms here. Let n be the total number of vulnerable hosts. So n is the total number of machines in the network, and I of t represents the number of machines that are infected at any time t, at any particular time instant t. And S of t is the number of susceptible hosts. Susceptible means the ones that are likely to be infected, okay, and not yet infected. Okay, and beta is the infection rate, which basically controls how fast the worm propagates or spreads. Okay, and they are all related by this equation. The number of machines that are going to be newly infected at time t plus 1 is going to be the number of machines that are, this is the number of machines that are actually the total number of machines infected by time t plus 1, not newly infected. Like together, put everything together, by time t plus 1 is going to be whatever is infected up to time t plus beta times I of t S of t. Okay? So these are all the machines that are already infected. These are all already infected by time t. Okay? And these are what? The new machines that are yet to be infected, that are going to be infected at time t plus 1. Very clear? So beta times I of t and then S of t are the new machines that are going to be infected at time t plus 1. So once you get this S of t plus 1, the new machines which are yet to be infected but are susceptible to be infected is going to be n minus I of t plus 1. Because n is the total number of machines. So once these many machines are infected, the remaining machines are basically susceptible. Okay, so the number of infected plus susceptible should be equal to the total number of machines. So if you know one, you can get the other. Okay, so n is always a constant. Okay, any question? The beta will be a constant factor that is also given to you. Let's pull out something from the question bank. Okay, so consider a network with 1,000 vulnerable hosts for a certain worm. After a certain rounds of propagation of this worm is number 3. Assume there are 4,000 infected hosts. How many of these susceptible hosts will be infected in the next round of propagation if the speed of propagation of the worm is given by that? So what is that? The beta term. So what are given there? the total number of vulnerable hosts, which is 10,000, and by a certain round, how many are already infected? 4,000 hosts are infected. Okay? So once you know this, how many are yet to be infected or susceptible? 6,000, right? The remaining, the difference. 10,000 is the total number and 4,000 is infected and the remaining is yet to be infected, right? And beta is given to be, I believe, 4 zeros. Alright, so what they're asking, how many new hosts will be infected during the next round of propagation? So what will you find now?
Is that the second equation?
Second, how many new hosts will be infected during the next round of propagation, which is this term.
Okay.
This says the new machines yet to be infected, which are yet to be infected at time t plus 1. That's the next round of propagation. So all you have to find is beta times I of t times S of t. So it's going to be 0.0005 times, this is going to be 4,000 times 6,000. Right? So if we do the math, it's going to be 120 times 10 to the power 6 into the, I believe it is 1,200 hosts. Okay. So in the next round, 1,200 hosts are going to be infected, if you can check it right. So how many are not totally infected? 4,000 are infected by the previous round. In the current round, 1,200 more hosts are infected, right? So totally how many are infected? 5,200, right? So I of t plus 1 is going to be 4,000 plus the 1,200 that got infected. So these many hosts are infected. So S of t plus 1 is going to be 10,000 minus 5,200. It's going to be 4,800 hosts. Okay? Very simple. Any question? So remember this as a formula, how you want to remember it, and then I could understand each term there. So once you understand each of those 3 terms there, we can do it any whatever way I ask you to do. Right? Here? Now, so I did a kind of simple Excel, not a simulation, but you can do this in Excel. I assume that I have 1,000 hosts in my network, and I just did a small kind of simulation. So remember, in the previous slide, you have the initialization condition. The initialization condition is at time 0, you got to have at least one worm, one machine to be infected, right? Then only you can that worm can propagate. If no machine is infected, there is no propagation possible, right? So at least one machine has been infected in that network, so that whatever the worm that infected that machine can propagate further. So you have at time 0, one machine infected. So the remaining machines that are susceptible are n is I of 0 minus n minus 1, right? Yes, you see. And then you can also do the simulation. Just use that equation and you can find how many machines will be infected at time 1, time 2, time 3, and so on. And that's what I did. And I found that, because you see now, the only thing that you need to know is this beta. So as you have this beta to be these 3 different values, okay, you get goes like this. So this is for beta to be 0.00025, smaller value. As I double my beta value, which is my speed of propagation, from here I get to this one. As I increase it by another, so basically I am tripling from here. From this value to this value I am multiplying by 3 times. So from here it reduces to this, not reduces, it changes to this basically. So you can see this is slower propagation, right? Whereas this is really fast propagation. It just increases quickly, right? So as you increase your beta, you see that the speed of propagation, the number of pores that are getting infected is going very quick. And after a while it kind of saturates. You see the same curve that we saw in theory, the other slide is, you can see in practice. And you can see as you increase your beta, as you cannot read these numbers, this beta, the first value I had was this. And then I doubled it, means I made it to be something like this. You see here, the time I measure, this is the time for this, what do you call this, pink, the first curve. It kind of saturates somewhere around 600. So beyond 600, I don't see any appreciable increase in the number of infected pores. It probably has infected all the pores by then, at time 600. So from beta is this, my saturation time is 600 time units. If I double by beta from this value to this value, what you see as the saturation time, it reduces by half. So my beta is 300. If I make it now 0.0075, my saturation time is now 200. So between these two, what I am doing really, I am increasing by 3 times, right? And it is decreasing by 1/3, right? So from 600 time units, it reduces to 200 time units. So that's what the statement you see here I made. As beta is increased by a factor of alpha, in this case say 3, your time it takes, the saturation time it takes to infect all the pores reduces by 1/alpha. So if you increase by 3 times, the saturation time reduces by 1/3. So that is something you need to know. So as a simple question I could ask you, if the beta is increased by say 5 times, the saturation time is reduced by 1/5. Right? Any question? And these are some of the names of well-known worms. The first well-known worm is the Morris worm, which I think is also related to the Bullsenker virus. And then the code red worm. Then this I love you worm, if you've heard of that. I think it spread through emails. So when people got an email that tells that said subject as I love you, they opened it and then they infected the machine. Okay? So sometimes these are certain strategies that attackers use. Okay, so the countermeasures for worms are really same strategies which are used to capture viruses. Okay, so they also have some signatures and all those stuff. But one very characteristic thing that people can make use of it is because, as I said, they target more from a network point of view, right? So you have all those firewalls and intrusion detection systems we can make use of. An intrusion detection system can have some signature for a worm. It may be a signature of a worm code or some activities. For example, a machine may not try to connect to multiple machines within a short amount of time. A regular machine, right? If it's not infected by a worm, right? It won't try to establish connection with several machines within a short period of time, right? Whereas when a machine is infected with a worm, as I said, it tries to infect several other machines from this machine. The worm will try to establish connections to several other machines. So if an IDS is monitoring the network and monitoring all this number of connections coming from each machine, it can find out that this particular machine is trying to behave arbitrarily and trying to connect to multiple machines quickly, right? So that's a flag indication that this machine could be infected with a worm. So an IDS, intrusion detection system, could raise a flag alarm telling that this machine could have been infected. A network. So which IDS we use for this? Network intrusion detection system, right? Not a host-based one. So a host-based one may be already compromised by the worm. Once a worm infects a machine, the host-based IDS may not be even running effectively. So you need a network-based IDS to really monitor the activities of all the machines in the network. And if it sees a machine really behaving arbitrarily and trying to connect to multiple machines quickly, it can kind of quarantine that machine, it means isolate that machine from the rest of the network. Okay. Similarly, a firewall, if you have again multiple packet requests coming, a packet filter firewall or even a stateful firewall can monitor the activities. Probably packet filter may not be effective because it doesn't remember the state information, so you have to probably use a stateful firewall to remember the state of all the connections going on and filter those packets. Okay, so you probably use filtering rules with your proxy firewalls. Okay. Now, a rootkit is basically kind of another kind of malware, but as I said, it's a stealthy type of malware, which means it will make sure it will always accompany virus or a worm typically most of the time, and it will make sure that they are not detected. Okay? So it will alter the system utilities that are used by the user and prevent the detection of the major one malware it is accompanying with a virus or a worm or a Trojan. Now, as I said, it could hide, for example, if you press Ctrl Alt delete, right, it will display all the processes running in a system. If you want the virus process not to be displayed as one of the processes, you have to infect your Windows process pointer utility. Right, so once your machine is infected with the spyware, you could do all these things. Of course, you will be very disappointed by that time, right? But if you press Ctrl or Delete, it will show all the process point. You try to see what is going on. My machine is behaving arbitrarily, but you won't see anything because all the malware processes will not be shown in this utility because that utility is already infected with the rootkit. Okay. Now, from behavior point of view, you can have two types of rootkits: a user mode rootkit and a kernel mode rootkit. A user mode rootkit is something like this. It affects the system utilities like a Windows process monitor utility and all those things. And it could be removed if the accompanying virus or worm is removed. Okay? Whereas the kernel mode rootkit is a very serious one. Most of the time you end up reinstalling or wiping out your hard disk and reinstalling the operating system. Why? As the name itself indicates, it infects all the operating system, the kernel functions that get loaded when the system is booting up. So it infects your device drivers, so all your device drivers get infected, and it survives reboots by kind of changing the registry values. So it really infects all your kernel functions or the operating system functions and replaces them with its own function. Okay, so you may think a particular operating behavior, what you call system call or utility of your operating system will do certain thing, but it will appear by name the same name, but it will behave differently because all your operating system functions, the behavior will be replaced by the rootkit functions. Okay. So there are some software that are available to remove the rootkits, but they really have to be. Have you gone through any of this? Anyone has gone through a rootkit removal process? Once your machine is infected with a rootkit or a virus, it's a long process. I went through it a couple of times. It does all this automated scanning, and it says two levels of scans. High level scan will try to just go through all the API files and identify the functions that are really infected. The second level is a low level scan. That's what will take most of the time because it goes through on a block by block basis of your hard disk. Your hard disk is divided into blocks, so try to scan it on a block by block basis and try to find out what's going on. So I wouldn't say it's going to be very successful. Sometimes you might have to reinstall the operating system once it's infected with the rootkit.
Would it be just easier to do that, just reinstall the operating system?
That's what many IT people do. And when you work for a company, they don't want you to have a system infected with the rootkit, and you may think that you have removed it, but they don't want you to have a system running like that on the network. So they would suggest you to reinstall. And sometimes they don't know how to fix it, so they say better reinstall. But most of the time, it's not good to really have something infected running. So just if you reinstall everything, as I said before, once you reinstall, everything will go away. Malware cannot infect a hardware, it can infect only a software on the operating system utilities. Now, I think I told before, an attacker always tries to outsmart the security professional who is trying to come up with strategies. So, an ideal goal of an attacker will be to launch what is called a zero-day attack. A zero-day attack means an attack that will exploit a vulnerability that was not previously known. So what an attacker will do is, if he has, say for example, developed a virus, he will run it through against all the current antivirus scanners that are available in the market. If none of them are able to detect the virus, then it means if he launches that virus, right, none of the antivirus scanners will be able to detect them, right? That's an example of a zero-day attack. Once he launches, he can infect a maximum number of machines because no one can detect that virus, right? So that's what they will target for. Such that no state-of-the-art anti-malware programs can detect their presence. Okay? And if you really go with a signature-based intrusion detection, again, like coming back to intrusion detection, where we have two types, signature and anomaly-based, right? So if you really want to handle zero-day attacks where there are malware that are released and you don't really have a signature for them, how they will be